He's an asset both on and off the board, and with his style, it's just so nice to watch him play chess.
Absolutely. And here we go. Round 5 in the Aimchess Rapid.
Okay, and we saw Vincent kind of freestyle yesterday in a few openings, and today he's playing a branch of the Reti opening. So White bringing his knight out on the first move, not occupying the centre with pawns. He's going to aim to do that from afar, and by playing b3, White's last move, he's getting ready to fianchetto his dark squared bishop. Black is doing the same now, and we'll see Black block this attack on the rook in the corner by bringing his knight out. And a bit of a surprise to me for both sides, especially Vincent, going for this type of opening. It's quite provocative in a way. But yeah, he's at least asking questions for Mamedyarov that maybe he hasn't faced too often before.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me, actually, because I really expected Vincent to kind of stick to tried and tested formulas, follow the mainstream. But instead, he's taking the game into maybe a position where he can control the activity, but it's not so well known.
Mm-hmm. And now with this pawn capture, Vincent has a question to answer. If he recaptures with the white pawn towards the centre, the game will be maybe a bit more static for a while. We'll just see the pieces come out. If he takes with the bishop, maybe we'll see the centre explode open a bit more directly later. OK, he does take with the bishop, getting ready to castle. Just very standard, very solid start to the game for both players. It doesn't look like the type of position where Mamedyarov can whip up an attack, though. That's maybe one disappointment for us, for him as well. Vincent, though, great air quality over there in Germany, just so professional, even at such a young age.
What is the optimal humidity?
Ooh, good question.
Do we know that?
As long as it's ringed by green in the F.
Yeah, actually,
Is it around 50%?
Yes, I think so. I think here we've got a green 59.43%, so this is good. I think anything under 60%, because I know we had our air things moved from my office to the basement flat, and it was for a long time. It was like, this is not happy. 67%. Get your humidity down, and I was like, okay, put some heating there.
So around 50.
Yeah, around 50. 60, anything where it's green, as David said. Good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
We have seen players kind of stumble, blunder, even when they've got CO2 levels over 1,000, when, the day drags on, and it seems to affect them. But, yeah, Vincent clearly paying attention to the Airthings device.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's surprising to me that Vincent takes a pause here, because the most natural move is just simply to castle the king, get it to safety. And here we go. Now a pawn breaks open the centre. And these positions I find very difficult to play, because there is no pawns in the centre. So this just means all the dynamism transfers to the pieces. And you have to be so precise. I mean, how do you massage an advantage out of this?
Yeah, maybe you don't.
But yeah, I was about to say, I don't think you do here. I've not been impressed by Vincent's opening whatsoever. He's freestyled it, which is fine, but Shak has responded very classically. He's going to play knight c6 and basically solved all of his opening problems here. I see absolutely nothing here for White to chew on. So I think Shak will be very happy.
And he's clearly studied this before, or something similar, Shak, just from the speed with which he's been playing. This queen move, for example, isn't 100% obvious if you're new to the position, and he's just played it instantly. So it does feel to me like Vincent, despite trying to freestyle, he's stumbled into some homework, and symmetrical pawn structures, as you say, Ivanka, it's just so hard to kind of find any potential in your position. That type of move as well shows that I think you're right, Lawrence, he's not really playing for the advantage anymore.
Yeah, it's just an admission that the opening has not gone particularly well. Shak will now probably bring his rooks into the centre. He's probably just double-checking that the f7 square isn't too loose. So, for example, bringing that f rook to d8. Knight g5 doesn't really exist, but you do have to double-check it.
Yeah, so we could show maybe just how things would go wrong, for example, if White waits. If the rook comes, yeah, you're right. At least you have to consider the square being attacked.
Yeah, because there's all sorts of funky tactics after knight g5, because you can't take on d4 because there's an in-between check on f7, so you actually have to be careful of that. And if you protect that pawn via a move like knight to e5, which is the first reaction, the knight on e5 is temporarily loose, So there are all kinds of weird moves like knight d to e6 here. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it works. It's just a random kind of idea, but it's those sorts of patterns that you have to be aware of. You know, things can get crazy here. Knight takes e4. Can you then go knight takes d8, knight takes b2? It probably works out for black in the end, but nevertheless,
crazy,
yeah, nevertheless, you have to be aware of it. So that's why Shak, I think, was very clever. He just brought the other rook to c8. Now there's no issue with the f7 pawn. And basically, tennis match. Hop the ball over to Vincent. Ball is in your court. Show me something, young man.
I always call this type of chess baseline tennis.
Exactly.
You know, everyone is hitting their shots from their own side. No one is coming forward.
Yeah, maybe white will do the same, bring his rook across, or maybe white's...
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, very sensible move. Again, baseline, just waiting, slowly improving the pieces. And now, again, questions if the black rook comes to this square, then maybe some tenderness on f7. It's hard to imagine anything going too wrong, to be honest. I guess the white queen will just run out of the way, out of the eye line of this black rook. It could just move, for example, and just very tense.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what either side is aiming for, to be honest. For example, if black just sits and waits, just defends this square, overprotects it. I mean, how is white ever going to create anything without exchanging pieces, which only leads to equality?
Yeah.
I've realised, sorry to interrupt, but I've realised, David, that is your favourite move in chess. Bishop from d7 to e8.
Yeah.
He was loving it yesterday as well.
Yeah.
We now know your favourite little move, that little backwards protective move.
It's funny you mention that, Lawrence, because...
Simon was also saying the same.
Simon
Yeah?
said the same.
Yeah.
And Peter Lecco, so Vincent Keymer's coach, I think you were there as well at the airport once after the Isle of Man tournament. He was saying, with white, my favourite move is bishop d2 to e1. And I did play it 3 times in the same tournament with white. So, yeah, just keeping my bishop safe for later.
I do remember Peter Lecco in that conversation saying that he loved following David's games because David almost always kind of got the opening slightly wrong or maybe slightly uncomfortable, and then he has to contort in a very special way, and he manages to then get an advantage. So great stuff. I can tell you what I would want my queen. Okay. I mean, the only thing that I think about in this position is that I would really want the white queen, and it is a pipe dream at the minute to be planted on the h4 square.
Ooh.
Because you often have that as a dangerous...
So you want to get here somehow?
Yeah, but it's not going to happen, so...
It's hard to get there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. So that means the action probably is going to take place in the centre, and then it's just going to be about who is better with their pieces.
I've got to mention this because I know if Simon was sitting here, he would be thinking of exactly the same idea. Now, the move a6, I would have played bishop e8. I thought a6 was interesting. Now, it doesn't work because the machine, the bar would have gone to +4 or something. But the move bishop takes f7 check is a move you have to consider. And the point is, it's a bishop sacrifice. And after king takes bishop, you now play the move queen c4 check. And... as I say, it doesn't quite work here, but it's not far off from working, because when the king goes back, you then throw a knight into g5, and all of a sudden you're threatening to enter in on f7. Unfortunately, black has got the move knight e5 here, and it kind of saves the day. But it's not far off from actually working.
You're right. It's actually much more scary than it looks. I mean, for example, you could also start with this knight check, hitting the king, and if the king goes back the same square we were talking about, this move we said doesn't work, but maybe you could flick in this knight move and suddenly you're hitting this bishop, hitting the rook. Oof, okay.
Bishop, yeah.
It's really, maybe
it's close,
fine, but it's very close to working. So Shak, just the fact that he played this move so quickly, either he's just calculated it all, which I wouldn't put past him, or his sense of danger has deserted him. I'm not sure which one, but either way, let's go back to the players. Vincent right now, if he wants to be ambitious, he could contemplate sacrificing a bishop. Yeah, it just it didn't feel like the right time yet.
Yeah, but it's in the pocket, right? And also white has plans of, oh, this is so true to my style, I need to fix it. I'm so predictable, pushing pawns in the centre, you know, step one pawn up, and another one, and all the way to the e6 square.
I love e4, e5, e6. I think that's a great little idea.
Yeah, but it's like my calling card. And,
no, but I mean, in this position, it's what you do, isn't it? I mean, if it was white's move here, you would probably go e4, wouldn't you?
But yeah, anyways, tense game.
Cool. And Mamedyarov played super fast so far. More than 14 minutes left on the clock. I see that you guys are already sharing your usernames for Lichess, Chess24 or chess.com on Twitter using hashtag #ChessChamps for a chance to get your performance analyzed by Grandmaster David Howell later today. Very cool. So one of you will get his expert help and maybe some tips on how you can improve. And actually, after this game, we will be joined live by a professional chess coach, and we will ask him a bunch of questions on tips and tricks for you guys at any level. If you are under 2000 or if you are above 22,000, how you can improve and increase your rating by a lot. We're going to ask him a bunch of questions about that. So if you are working on your chess to improve, then stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I love reading everyone's reasons why David should
analyze. You have some big tournaments, games coming up?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have been stuck around the 1500 level, and everyone wants to make their breakthrough. So this seems to be a common pattern. Other than that, you know, that lots of people kind of like saying, well, you know, it would be great if David could kind of like point out something because they're struggling in the openings. A lot of people unsure actually of where to improve and how to improve. And so this kind of data will be very helpful. There's also a lot of people who are saying, once again, it's their birthday.
Yeah.
And David, could you please help out?
We'll try and get around as many people as possible.
Yes. Yeah, so please share, everyone. We will choose someone, and stay tuned for that professional chess coach joining after this game. I have a bunch of questions lined up for him about improving in chess.
Yeah, and coaches are important. We mentioned Vincent. He's had a chess coach for a long time now, Peter Lecco, and I think since he was 12 years old, so the last 5-6 years, and it's helped him reach the elite levels already.
At what level do you start working with a professional coach? So we know Prague started at a very early age, right, at like 7 or something. When did you start working with a coach, David?
I must have been 6 or 7 years old as well, and I think until the age of 11, 12, it wasn't always the same coach, but I had a bunch of different coaches for different phases. And I mean, after that, I was mostly working on my own. Other stuff got in the way, like school, but yeah, I mean, it was enormously helpful. It helped me make those big jumps. How about you guys?
Yeah, my story is a little bit sad, actually, because we couldn't afford a coach. I mean, so we had a family mentor who would kindly donate his time, and he give us access to books and also just give us thoughts. But I definitely benefited from hiring a coach when I was in my 20s, you know, and he actually changed my repertoire, and I found it tremendously useful. And of course, I did manage to work with some coaches when I was playing for England and in those particular events. So that was quite handy. And I mean, it's so nice to have someone kind of say, here's your strengths, here are your weaknesses, and also just be there for you and say, hey, well done. And you actually see a lot of the top players, they take the coaches with them, not only just to give chess advice, but also to bring a good mood. Yeah. Which is very, very important.
Very important, yeah, absolutely. Chess coaches. But obviously, we understand that hobby players, they don't have their own chess coaches. So that's why you can follow us for some tips and tricks.
Yeah, it's a good reason to download Aimchess. It's basically its own coach, tells you strengths, weaknesses, and also helps you. You can play against the computer on positions that you've actually had in your own games and improve from there. So really useful tip.
I love that feature, that you can actually, the Aimchess just tells you this was your blunder, this was your mistake. Now you need to work on it.
Yeah, and that's what you need. You know, you need that little highlighter to tell you this is where you need to dedicate your time, because otherwise there's a lot of data around there. I mean, when I was young, that was a long time ago. You know, it was pretty easy, I would say, compared to now. You know, there were books that you could kind of think. Everyone had their own repertoire, their own things, and now it's like database with millions and millions of games and all this information coming at you. I mean, where to start?
It can be frustrating.
It is.
Definitely.
And meanwhile, David's favourite move.
And after 5 minutes
way onto the position.
It's not necessarily maybe Shaq's favourite move, a retreating move, keeping a bishop on a slightly passive square, but it's a safe one. So maybe it just needed to be done. Then again, the evaluation bar went back in White's favour, and Vincent trades off a set of knights. I guess he's getting ready to jump into the center with his other knight. Maybe one of the white bishops can go and attack that black queen. Okay, Mamedyarov just desperately trying to trade off pieces, but are you guys surprised that the computer's really excited about this for white? It still looks like black should be solid enough.
Yeah, again, but I think somehow this has worked out quite well for Vincent, because once again, it's one of those positions where Shak is going to have to do nothing very well. I don't think that's one of his greatest strengths, just kind of fiddling around and not doing things that are too active. He's going to have to find things that are a little bit, what's the word? Dry, if I can use that.
Yeah.
You know, rook takes d1, queen takes c6,
Wait.
queen c7. Go on.
Sorry, I got really excited because
Yeah.
I think black has to tread very carefully. Like, say, for
Okay.
instance, you were to capture that rook with the queen.
Right.
And say you capture that knight with the bishop. I think that's a
Yeah.
bit careless, because all of a sudden the knight can come to the g5 square, attack the pawn, and the point is, it's not very easy to defend that pawn, because if you step forward with the e6 pawn, then you just take it off with your knight, and look at that rook. It's on the I was going to say same diagonal, but that's so not right.
Well, it's loose.
It's loose, yeah.
It's hit by the white bishop, and
What would you kind of say that pattern is when it's on, like, the same?
it's vulnerable because it looks like a V.
Oh, very good, David, yeah.
Okay, he takes with the rook instead. There was another trap. If the queen had taken the white knight, then the bishop jumps out the way with a check. Next move, the white rook takes the black queen. So, okay, Shakhriyar decided his only option was to take with the rook, but this isn't ideal either, because the white knight can jump into the center with gain of time. I'm not sure whether you start with this one. You could also, it's slightly tempting to start with the bishop, move into the center to hit the queen. Okay, he does jump in with his knight. Now the rook. Just as you pointed out, Jovanka has to be careful where it goes to. There are some loose squares. If you'd gone back to an undefended post, then bishop takes pawn again is a discovered attack. The rook would drop, so he shuffled the rook to the side. And, okay, Vincent, he's basically got the maximum out of this opening. He's just still got most pieces on the board. He's got very active pieces now. I'm loving these two.
I think his position is really good now. I'm actually tempted to push some more pawns.
Yeah, I can see what you want to do.
Want to kick away this knight.
Yes, I do. Oh, God.
It's funny how our brains think, I was looking the other way. I want to move my bishop into the center, and when the queen moves, then I want to go and take a pawn. I'm just greedy. And,
That also crossed my radar, but yeah.
but this one, it is on the cards, right? Because it's all about the f7 square, which, I mean, is traditionally weak in all openings, but especially here. Yeah, suddenly
Yeah.
white's queen, knight, bishop.
Yeah, and Shak definitely isn't. This isn't his strong suit, defending these positions. He's very good on the front foot, as we saw yesterday. Some of these attacking games, as we saw in the introduction today, it's only getting very exciting. When he gets into gear and he's just blasting away at you, you're dead. But in these positions where he has to be very, very precise, he's definitely... of course, he's a grandmaster and he's a super grandmaster, but he wouldn't be your first choice in defending this position with black. Let's put it like that. Would you agree with that, David?
I 100% agree. When I've played Shak in the past, I always try to make it as dull as possible. So something like this, but Vincent's actually got my dream. Like, Vincent is active, but also very solid at the same time. But I have been able to frustrate Shak a few times just by kind of boring him to death, or just by not giving him the type of position that he wants, as Lawrence points out. Maybe we could get the Aimchess stats up again, just because resourcefulness is going to be a big part of this game for Shak now. Lawrence, you mentioned it's maybe not one of his strong points, and we have seen Mamedyarov in the past resign quite early in a lot of games, so resourcefulness, for me, that would maybe be his biggest weakness, but actually, okay, very resourceful, 64%.
Wow.
Turning it around. So all of these stats really, not confusing, but surprising at least.
But then again, Vincent, super strong in advantage capitalization.
That's true. 91% wins.
Wow.
I think he has a +2 advantage or more. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's getting there. He's almost at that point, at that threshold. Wow, he's just in form, Vincent. What can we say?
But is it possible still in this game for Shak to be resourceful, to turn it around and win it?
Yeah. Still, there's no direct threats for white. There's still no, well, maybe some small threats over the next 2 or 3 moves. There's no immediate breakthrough. So if black can somehow swap off some pieces, anything's possible, but at the moment it's just a lot of pressure, especially from the white queen, the white knight, the white light square bishop. Also looking at these stats, Shaq in the video, he mentioned endgames were his weakest.
Yeah.
75% endgames?
Incredible.
Yeah, these top players, they're just good at everything.
Yeah.
And, OK, meanwhile, he moves his queen, so interesting move, but a bit of a loose square.
Mysterious move. It looks
wrong somehow.
feels completely wrong.
I think he was worried about the bishop attacking the rook.
Can you play... Bishop takes pawn with a check, bring the white rook in.
Oh.
It looks... Look at Vincent. He reacted there. He was surprised as well. Just some moves you get an instinct, right? It just feels wrong or feels loose, feels like your opponent's going in the wrong direction. This one, it stinks, this move.
Yeah.
We haven't figured out why yet. This is a bad move for black. It must be a tactic for the evaluation bar to go that high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a move that definitely surprises Vincent as well? It surprises you guys a lot.
Yeah, it surprises me. And maybe if we jump in, we can try and figure out the cause of black's potential downfall if Vincent finds a good move. So black's queen did jump in. Two moves came to mind immediately. One, you always want to look for checks and captures first. So bishop takes pawn, check. The opponent's forced to recapture, then you can give another check. I think the opponent is forced to block with one bishop.
Yeah.
Luckily for Shaq, he can block with this bishop. If he blocks with the other one, then this is deadly. Rook takes bishop, and the queen creeps in to deliver checkmate in a couple of moves. This would end badly for black. But the question is, do you have anything after this move? Maybe not. I don't see
I don't see it.
I don't see it.
Yeah, maybe black's solid enough with three defenders. The other move that came to my mind, at least, is a knight retreat. This one looks a bit odd, but stepping back with the knight, just because of my idea earlier, I want to win this pawn once the black queen is kicked away from its defence. And if the queen comes in now, it's almost trapped. I guess you can just hit the queen. Maybe the queen can move. Maybe the queen can survive deep inside the white camp, but this looks a bit odd. If the queen goes anywhere else, for example, if it goes back, then you attack the queen again with the bishop. The queen is forced to move, and eventually you will win this pawn. But I don't know, guys, do you see anything else? Because in this position, it feels like there's something.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like there's something loose. I mean, I also wanted to highlight another move that's possible, but maybe not the most incisive, is just to attack the queen with the pawn.
Just push a pawn.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if she steps back, then we can carry on with the plan of harassing her. But she's going to step forward, that's the problem.
She's going to step into white's camp, and at least now she's hitting the bishop, keeping an eye on this rook. At least here, Shaq would finally be getting active, but yeah, it's mysterious at the moment. We're waiting for Vincent to come up with a move. It feels like there's something promising. The bar says it's very promising, but what is the move?
OK, I cheated. I took a
All
look
right.
at the computer, and the computer says, retreating the knight, attacking the queen.
There we go.
That is the killer
That's
blow.
it.
He hits the queen, and the one move that scared me was the move that Shaq's just played. And
Oh, bishop c3.
oh, wow, that's stronger. And
Oh,
Shaq has
no.
blundered his queen. The queen is trapped. The bishop hits the queen. The queen has to take this pawn, only safe square, and the rook traps it. Oh, wait, does the rook trap it? How does the rook trap it? Because I thought this was the end, but the queen comes out again.
I think maybe
The bishop.
Can you just go on a greed mission and just
This-
grab the pawn with your queen? I mean,
maybe you
isn't
just take
that...
this pawn. OK, I thought this was game over. I thought the queen was trapped, but it doesn't even need to be attacked. Maybe just... OK, Vincent plays this move. He's just coming in with his own queen. Black's queen is offside. White's queen is actually doing something. Vincent's just so strong, I've got to say. Yeah, this really nice idea. Just sideline the opponent's queen. How does this piece get back in the game?
I have to say, we were really critical of Vincent's opening choice. We were like, oh, there's nothing in it, you know, it's like snooze fest, you know, I don't see what's going to happen. And then 22 moves, this has happened to Shaq. And there's no way back now. I mean, White is completely winning.
Psychological. A smart move by Vincent, just getting into something that, as Lauren says, Shakhriyar hates.
Well, in hindsight, the way it played out was actually quite genius from Vincent because objectively, he didn't get anything from that opening, right? And a lot of the time when you're white, you're trying to at least manufacture a little advantage, a little something to work with. But Vincent just entered a very a middle game without a lot of tension, as we call it, as Jovanka said. In the centre, there was no tension. The pawns had been exchanged. Shakhriyar's position was completely fine. Harmony, coordination, everything was there. But what next? What do you then do when you've got perfect piece placement? That's the art where players like... who in those positions really excel, David, would you say? Who really...
Magnus.
Magnus is one. Magnus is one. You've got the likes of...
I'd say Wesley, maybe. Just
Wesley. There are certain players that just know how to just grind those positions, but Shaq, because he wants to be active all the time. And it blew up in his face very quickly, and he's dead lost now. So, genius. And a lot of other players should take note. This is how you play against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov.
Yeah. Don't let him have any fun. Sometimes players, it's just like a badge of honour. You want to meet fire with fire. You want to show you can fight, but you don't want to fight against Shaq in open-handed combat. OK, Black has had to retreat his dark square bishop to its starting square to defend the pawn. And, OK, the key for Vincent is kind of keeping the momentum. He doesn't want to let the black queen out of its box. I don't think you can trap it yet. Maybe you can attack it with the white knight, but do you rush with that? Can you just keep kind of creating threats with the white queen, perhaps? You can also hit the black rook with your dark squared bishop. OK, Vincent has 5 minutes on the clock. That should be enough now to at least find a way to create some threats, find the right path, but still some work to be done. What would you guys be thinking here?
Yeah, it's... precision is key now. You can't be sloppy. That move looks like a lot of... that makes a lot of sense to me, that move.
Direct threat.
Yeah.
The threat is for White's dark squared bishop to go and take the black knight, and when the black knight is gone, White's queen can start grabbing the black bishops.
I like that move, what can I say? And also, White keeps in the pocket that knight, returning to the square it came from, the e5 square, and hitting the f7 pawn. This looks like White's position is a dream. I mean, it's difficult to find anything for Black.
It's just the harmony. White's minor pieces, the bishops and knight, they make such a good impression defending each other. OK, Black's bishop comes out now. Shaq is... wow, OK, interesting move. Shaq was there trying to give up a pawn if the bishops had disappeared from the board in order to alleviate some pressure. But now, where's the queen going?
She's
trapped. She's step one square back to the a3 square, whereupon she attacks the rook and does a little dance.
And then rook a1 hits the queen and...
oh, well, there you go.
Right now, let's jump in to show Vincent's idea. He's just hit the queen. If the queen steps back...
Now knight c6.
Yeah, she is trapped. There's nowhere to run here. She loses herself for a rook. So, OK, the queen had to go here. And, yeah, as you mentioned, Lawrence...
Knight c6, a gorgeous little finisher here. Double attack on the queen. You hit the queen, you hit it in two directions, and then the e7 pawn is also hanging. And most importantly, you can't block the 8th rank, because the c6 knight protects d8. That is what we call a... No, sorry, I'm talking about in the position with the queen on a5, David.
Yeah. So I was thinking after knight c6, the queen has to move.
I'm sorry, yeah.
For example, if she moves here, I mean, you can continue attacking her, first of all, but you can also flick in your move, I guess, that you want. Knight takes pawn. The king has to move. Actually, this position is on the board. Is he going to take this pawn now, or is he going to move the rook to attack the queen?
Is he definitely losing his queen, Shakhriyar?
I mean, she's running. She's managed to escape finally, but the problem is you're losing the rest of your house. You can just take this pawn now, for example, with the check for free. Is there anything better? I mean, I would be looking at taking this. First of all, the king has to move. You can't take that knight because of the pin. OK, all we need is the killer blow. Where's the final touch? I mean, worst comes to worst again, you just keep attacking the queen.
No, but that, bishop d4, you can maybe go rook d4 and queen takes e7 at the end of that line.
OK, that's clever. Rook takes, and then this piece is hanging. So you still have to be a bit careful.
Yeah.
So this is the current position. I don't think my move is a good one there. What else?
I want to play...
Wipe the pawn up.
I wanted to play something absolutely gorgeous. I don't think it quite worked. Oh, it might... Oh. It nearly works. I wanted to play knight g8. It doesn't quite work, I don't think.
Jumping in, and the idea is if the king takes...
Yeah, this is where we needed a move, but I couldn't find a move to work.
So that one, we're not sure. How would we keep things safe right now? I mean, I'm wondering if you can drop back, for example, with the knight.
And rook takes?
Yeah. And then after rook takes, which is likely.
And now the intermediate bishop takes f6. That's the key, isn't it?
I think this is Vincent's idea. After bishop takes knight check, now you take the black rook, and the black queen is overworked. It needs to defend its bishop. If it takes the white bishop, we would end up with white having a rook and a pawn just for black's bishop, and that's a decisive advantage. Vincent's found it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so calm, just still 4 minutes on his clock. He finds this nice retreat, and the pressure here is going to win the game.
Yeah. The bar is loving it for Vincent Keymer. It's not looking good for Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. He looks like he's almost lost already on his body language. We do have one result in round 5, a win for Gukesh against Hare Krishna. That was a prestigious one. They were on board 1 for each of their India teams in the Olympiad. Gukesh for India 2 and Hare Krishna for India 1. And Gukesh winning this battle today, 3 points for him. Bunch of moves. The bar is still saying this is winning for the young German.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we showed. If the black queen had taken the white bishop, black's bishop would have fallen. So he's continuing. He's still the exchange and a pawn down. And Vincent's just doing it.
He's putting it in the bank.
A cynical way, just offering a trade of queens.
It's over. Yeah, a win for Vincent Keymer. 3 points. He goes up to 10 points now. A great start for the young German, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. It's up and down. He wins some, he loses some. Starts off with a loss today, but he is definitely capable of coming back with a massive